Rachel, good morning. We are absolutely delighted to have you on board the RevAmp podcast here today. For those who don't already have the pleasure of knowing you or meeting you previously, perhaps just start by introducing yourself, your role, and a little bit about the company that you work at.
Absolutely. So my name is Rachel Likens. I work in the Sales Strategy and Enablement function over at Zscaler, which is a global cloud-based information security company. We provide internet security, web security, firewall, sandboxing, SSL inspection, et cetera. And our biggest kind of goal and mission is to help our customers secure kind of a safe and stable workforce, regardless of where their employees are around the globe. So I am a part of a pretty incredible global sales strategy and enablement team here. And I come from a bit of a longer tenure in the cybersecurity realm as well too. So quite a fast-paced, high stakes, quick moving industry. And here at Zscaler, we've had a bit of a high growth year, given everything that's going on in the world, and the product that we are focused on helping deliver for our customers. So we're moving quickly and trying to stay on top of an opportunity to really serve our client base.
That's fantastic. And on the theme of moving quickly, I understand right now you guys are in the process of preparing for Sales Kickoff 2021, and that you personally, as well as your team, have fielded a number of questions from professionals in a similar situation who are thinking about the challenge of delivering a sales kickoff remotely as opposed to maybe in person like it was before. And this probably presents some new challenges that have not been experienced before. If you were to just kind of set the scene for me and for us here, what are some of the hidden challenges that might not be obvious on face value that this is going to present for you and for your team?
Absolutely. So hidden challenges. I think one of the things that we had to realize when planning this program and preparing for this program is that Zoom fatigue is a very real problem, a very real challenge. So not only were we trying to build an experience for a go-to-market organization that is, 8 to 10 hours a day on a Zoom call, trying desperately to connect with folks in that fashion, and very much so looking forward to something like a sales kickoff as an opportunity to get together and reunite with their teams and their folks that they don't often get to work with across the organization, as well as an opportunity to get to know some of their new folks that are part of their broader and extended team. We were dealing with a group of folks that knew that was likely not going to be the case. So a lot of people who were not really looking forward to the kickoff the way that you traditionally would, being in a field organization, and us on the back end having to realize, how do we really create an experience that not only sort of surprises and delights folks and gets them to see, hey, we're going to take you into a week of kickoff that is unlike anything that you've experienced before, but also how do we make it something that doesn't feel like the day-to-day, right? So we know, I know from working in sales strategy and enablement, how critical an event and an experience like this can be in really re-energizing your sales force and reminding folks why they should be so proud to work for the company that they're with, and helping them see the opportunity that they have as an individual as well as a team in the marketplace. So we needed to rethink the way that we thought about kickoff, knowing that some of these hidden challenges of just purely morale and isolation and sort of inability to connect in ways that we are more familiar with, those were going to be just as important to figure out how to tackle as the obvious challenge of having to run a program like Kickoff fully virtually.
What I loved from some of the notes that I gathered with you beforehand was the fact that Sales Kickoff doesn't start at Sales Kickoff. Sales Kickoff starts in preparing and shaping the mindset of the team, the employees that you have that are coming to the event, given the reality, you know, as you said, that some people might be dealing a little bit with online fatigue, or maybe the challenges of isolation, or maybe the challenges of being a new employee and not feeling like they're on equal footing with the with those who have shared experiences together. So practically, what kind of things have you been doing to help shape the mindset of those that will be attending? I know there are some things that you've been working on.
Yes, so that was a big piece, and I love what you just said there, Gideon. Kickoff is not just a moment in time; it's so much just a part of the ongoing journey that's meant to help accelerate. And so we tried to kind of approach it with that mindset. So a few things that we did that were really effective and helped us successfully both prepare people mentally to come into that week of kickoff, but also help maximize their experience while at kickoff, was that we took advantage of being virtual by leveraging our in-house learning management system. Showpad is who we work with, and they have been a phenomenal partner at helping be the platform for a lot of both resources, but also courseware that have helped us develop these really phenomenal sort of learning paths for our field organization, so that folks can get exposure to some of this more like instructional, foundational content before they come into something like a kickoff, where we do want those experiences to be more discussion-based and more interactive. So I'm really fortunate to be able to work with a learning experience design team on my broader sales strategy and enablement team, who is just, they're experts at creating that content and creating those learning paths. So we had a lot of that leading up into kickoff, and a lot of what was put and funneled into those paths were not only tailored to role, so that we could ensure that the individual, as part of the go-to-market org, they were getting an experience that was meant something to them in their day job. But we also leveraged it as an opportunity to start giving people more of that connection to the broader organization that is so important at a sales kickoff. So let me give you an example. We have traditionally, you think of some of your main stage sales kickoff content. You hear from the marketing organization, you hear from your customer success leadership, and you get to hear more about their charter and how we're going to work together as a broader ecosystem in the coming year. We were actually able to do some pre-recordings of those leaders so that they could actually, that content could be delivered in sort of what felt like a one-on-one delivery and conversation to the go-to-market field rep to get access to before they came into the week of kickoff, so that they already had this mindset of, that's right, I'm not in this alone. I do have this broader ecosystem that's really devoted to my success and to our success as an organization. So it's good to kind of plug back into that and realize that mentally going into a week, that's going to be probably a lot more focused on what I can do as an individual to refine my execution, so that I can leave off and head into the new fiscal year equipped to be able to execute. So those were a few things that we did on the front end. And then while at kickoff, Gideon, kind of keying off of your sort of a similar question too, around back to those hidden challenges, we found it was incredibly important to bake in opportunities, not only for folks to network and connect with each other, but also to tap into things beyond work content, right? So philanthropy is traditionally kind of a piece of, a handful of what organizations do at sales kickoff. We actually worked with a group called Soul Hope that helps you take your unused and maybe kind of Goodwill, in the pile for Goodwill denim, old jeans, and actually take that fabric and construct these shoes that are then delivered to children in West Africa who have an issue with a lot of the bugs and walking around with in some of these not so ideal situations, right? So we actually were able to get on different Zoom breakouts with each other and work through and craft these shoes together. Folks had their families, their kids, they're sitting with them, and we were able to actually engage in a way that felt more normal and more human than maybe a lot of us have had the opportunity to get exposure to over the past few months.
Yeah, I just had an idea off the cuff. Is it possible to get some of those end recipients of that Goodwill on to zoom in or record a little message there? That would be powerful, just to see that your action ties to human beings that have a voice as well. Anyway,
Absolutely.
off
Great
point.
idea.
The thing I love about your event is every time I learn something, watch something, see something, I think of 5, 10, 15 more ideas. I love that DNA there, whereby it inspires me to think. And I'm not even a part of your company by any stretch of the imagination. So there has to be something going in the right direction there. One of the things that I loved when you were talking about the event itself was the idea of personalization, that you were tailoring the information to individual ideas. And I think one thing that you shared with me prior was even the idea that there was a booth where people could go and learn specific pieces of content and tap into that knowledge share. That is something that when you're in the midst of a queue that is often a luxury, you don't have access to to that thought leadership or those people. So first of all, how are you doing that? That must be difficult to do that online. And who's bought into that?
Yeah, great question. So, more to the how. Well, I'll start with the how. So that this phenomenal learning and experience design team that I get to work alongside as part of this global sales strategy enablement function here, as part of the learning path that they were helping construct for folks. I think we realized, obviously we have our main stage content that everyone will see. We'll have our breakout sessions that are going to be a lot more collaborative, discussion based. We'll have some mini workshops within those. But along with that, and along with sort of the e-learning that came before people came into the week of SKO, was providing them with this sort of choose your own adventure style experience throughout the week of Kickoff. And what that looked like is essentially the teams helped build out 10 or so virtual booths that were dedicated to certain content topics, whether it was competitive, whether it was a new product that we were launching, whether it was our new pricing strategy. And they worked alongside the subject matter experts within those topics to not only deliver some content that could be virtually at this booth that people could go get access to, but actually provide a chance for you or I to pop up and have a one-on-one or a one-to-many sort of Zoom conversation live with subject matter experts to be able to ask some of the questions that we might have. So because of that, because of their kind of great work in sort of planning and crafting that learning experience and journey, as well as the dedication of our subject matter experts to be willing to be on these calls virtually at potentially would have been 3 a.m. in the morning for some of them, because we were catering to all different global time zones throughout the week for Kickoff. But we had this phenomenal partner. CG is the company, they're a creative agency, and they worked with us to help take advantage of some of the virtual software, the virtual event software that's out there, and really customize it to meet our needs that we were looking for the experience we were trying to create. So this is one of the things that they helped work with us to figure out how we could do this, since it was such a critical kind of piece for us to figure out how do we give people the opportunity to interact with content in various different ways instead of just 8 hours on a Zoom presentation. So this is one of the ways of the sort of multifaceted approach that we took in being able to give people exposure to content. And to your point, allow them to then have an experience that's a little bit more personal to them and maybe more specific to the enablement that they know that they need to go seek out, rather than a bit of a kind of a one-to-many sort of blanket approach.
So as you're sharing this, what I'm thinking is there probably was a task for you there to get senior stakeholders to, first of all, understand the new and different dynamic of 2021 and how this is not just duplicating whatever we did in 2020 and doing it via Zoom, to your point. So there was a little bit of internal education there. And then secondly, the ask of getting what the contributions that you needed. Was there anything unique or different this time around in terms of the educative process? We usually think about your role in terms of you educating the sales organizations and facilitating that, but probably there was also kind of vertical education too, that there needed to be a slight shift in mindset and expectations. What did that look like? Was there a conversation there?
Yeah.
Was there a shift? Could you feel a tangible difference, or was it all just implicit?
Sure. So there's kind of two things that I'd share in response to that, Gideon. So the first one is, I think I think not only were the leaders that we were working to get buy-in from kind of trying to figure out what do we do with this different experience and this challenge that we're up against, but I don't think anyone knew, right? None of us have lived in this world before. I think a lot of folks there's been kind of a spectrum of folks who've more successfully sort of ventured into that virtual experience realm. And because of COVID, we've all had to just accelerate that because that's been our only option, right? So I think part of it, the first piece was just trying to understand, yes, there's nothing like physical here. There's not a hotel that you need to rent. There's not a true main stage that we're working to put creative around where it feels so intangible because everything's going to be online. But at the same time, we had to realize and also kind of facilitate conversations around the fact that to do this well, not only do we have an opportunity to do this well and create an experience that's still going to leave people with the same sort of sense of invigoration for the upcoming fiscal year, but it still will require time, investment, additional creative brainstorming to figure out how we create this experience in such a different way. And it's investment that we saw and led to conversation around the fact that not only is it worthwhile for that experience, but a lot of what we built was knowing that Sales Kickoff is it's not just that 1 week, right? So there was so much that we built around this experience that we're now leveraging in post-kickoff kind of enablement conversations for ongoing trainings, for ongoing resourcing. I mean, everything that we did was built with sort of this dual purpose. How do we continue to leverage a lot of this content? So much of the pre-recorded material that we put together as well too is now used as part of our onboarding for new folks that are coming into the organization, for new sales folks. So we just tried to be very smart about the fact that yes, this is going to still require some investment, but we can make those dollars go even further by thinking of the various different ways that we can take a lot of what we've produced for this experience and funnel it into what we know is going to be really important moving forward after kickoff. So that was a big piece that we had kind of in mind throughout this whole process. And I think the second piece too, Gideon, was having conversations with various stakeholders and other departments throughout the organization who are traditionally quite involved with a sales kickoff in one way or another to talk about how do we think about this from the standpoint of a learning journey. So it's not just your traditional 30-minute on stage, update to the sales org. What are some things we can do before that? What are some things we could do to have more of a discussion around a particular topic while at kickoff together? And then probably most importantly, what happens the following quarter immediately, and then for the rest of the year to continue to drive that behavior we're trying to see with your respective department or with this particular product or whatever that might be. So it helped us kind of accelerate and have even more of those conversations because we knew we were somewhat limited by virtual. So it just helped us get more creative about what's the longer term experience that we're creating that this is then going to help accelerate.
So to that point, if it's different this year, how will you measure success from Sales Kickoff 2021? Go ahead.
Yep, that's a great question. So there's a few different ways that we like to look at success. I think one of the things that we planned to measure and that we did measure actually throughout the experience was engagement. So it's hard to sometimes put a number or score or measurement around engagement, but we actually had a built-in leaderboard that was part of our virtual environment that helped track key activities and behaviors, whether it was completion of e-learning courses, whether it was visiting certain booths, whether it was participation during a main stage session. But we had this massive leaderboard that was kind of the core driver for folks to continue to feel inspired to lean in and really engage while at the virtual event. But also as part of that, Gideon, I think the other pieces we're looking at, realizing this is an experience and that the feeling of sort of excitement and motivation of being part of this org is such an important outcome we're trying to drive towards. We did look at like an NPS, a traditional NPS score to help dictate success of the program, as well as, we had a handful of metrics that we're continuing to monitor around pipeline generation, around pulling in new logos, around average deal sizes, around accelerating that average deal age. Right. A lot of those things that we're continuing to measure that are, that we built the entire program to help drive towards as well too. So those will be more lagging indicators, but I think initially the engagement score, leveraging the leaderboard to see that, as well as the NPS score. And we do something called confidence scoring as well too. So being able to ask you as a rep, how confident do you now feel in your ability to execute on this particular part of our sales process now that we've spent dedicated time in doing that at this kickoff? And that's a question that we ask throughout the year so we can continue to monitor how much we're moving the needle on that.
And Rachel, there's a rumor going around, and I'm not sure how true it is, that you're also using a new piece of software that will track the retina of people on the Zoom meetings to see people's attention and how long they're staying engaged for. Is that true, or is that something that I just made up a couple of minutes ago?
I would love to know more about that. That sounds incredible. But I think you're hitting on something, Gideon, that's interesting. I think trying to figure out, this measurement around engagement, right? It's not only something that was important for us at Kickoff, but if you think about that, even with our customer calls and conversations, right? We're constantly trying to figure out, how do we know if someone's truly engaged? And we have different strategies that we like to employ that help kind of pulse on those on that engagement level throughout these experiences. We do a lot of that actually in our virtual briefing center that's now fully virtual as well too. So I'm very excited to see kind of how that space continues to evolve, because I think now more than ever we're trying to figure out, is this working? Are we connecting? Are we resonating? Are we getting our message across? So certainly eager to see how that continues to evolve. And I have no doubt we are going to try to be at the forefront of figuring that out in a handful of different arenas.
Well, Rachel, I've seen a little preview of things to come from you guys, and it really does look absolutely exciting. And I hope that once it's all done, that you share, well, I guess you can't share all of that because your competitors might want some of that information, but you share the highlights that you feel comfortable to share and put that in the public domain when you guys are ready. There's definitely a lot that can be learned from the forward thinking that you guys are doing over there at Zscaler. Just making sure you guys got the pronunciation of that. You've been an absolute pleasure. You have delivered a bunch of both wisdom, experience, and most of all, passion. I think some of the ideas that you've shared are absolutely progressive and draw from the best practice of other industries and other professions. And I think your team have got something really positive to look forward to. So Rachel, from all of us over here at the RevAmp team, thank you so much for sharing your thought leadership, and we look forward to your continued success.
Thank you, Gideon. I appreciate that. Appreciate the opportunity to just share some of our learnings so that others in a similar situation are wondering, what on earth are we going to do to try to recreate this experience virtual? I hope folks can kind of glean some insight from what we learned and take some of that into their experience. And I just want to emphasize too that nothing would be possible without this incredible global sales strategy and enablement team that is over here at Zscaler. So I was just a part of the group, but it took a village, as it usually does. And thankfully we had quite talented folks dedicated to making this experience really impactful. So I think that really helped attribute to the success. But thank you, Gideon, for the time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Rachel, it's a pleasure. Thanks once again. Look forward to being in touch. Bye.
Cheers.